Okay, well, we'll get started here. Thanks everyone for joining us for this webinar. Today we plan to cover some good information that'll hopefully help you with our new QT2 commercial product. We're excited to present this to you. So let's get moving. So I'm Jason Higginson. I'm the Senior Director of Marketing at APsystems. With me today, we've got Crystal Davis. She's the head of our technical support for North America, and we're both excited to be with you guys today. Very quick agenda. I'll be covering just a brief piece about APsystems, kind of who we are. We'll also cover the product overview, the benefits of those products. Crystal will go into depth on system design, installation, and then we'll very briefly touch on the ECU and the EMA. Much of that is going to be in our webinar tomorrow. So just make sure that you stay tuned for that. You can sign up at the same place that you signed up for this webinar. And we'll have some more details on where to go specifically on our website to do that. Company introduction. APsystems was founded in Silicon Valley in 2010. We're a global provider of MLPE systems for the solar PV industry. We have R&D centers in both the US and overseas. Worldwide, we have 4 global business units. Our European business unit is based out of Amsterdam and Lyon, France. In the US, it's out of Austin, Texas, and Cupertino, California. In Latin America, we're in Guadalajara. And we also have offices in Canada, Australia, and in Shanghai and Jiaxing. So key facts about APsystems: we're the #2 solar microinverter supplier worldwide. We're #1 when it comes to multi-module microinverters. We have over 2 gigawatts installed globally. That's more than 2 million microinverters and more than 1 million rapid shutdown devices. We serve customers in over 100 countries with well over 200,000 residential and commercial solar installations. And we have we're on some third-party financing ABLs, including Mosaic, Sungage, Dividend, White Green, Sunstone, and LoanPal, which is now a good lead. So we have 3 primary points of our installation architecture, that being the microinverters, the gateway, and then our online monitoring system, our EMA portal in the cloud. So that applies both to our residential systems and to our commercial systems. On the residential side, we have the DS3, and we'll introduce that product shortly. Our gateway is typically the ECU-R, and the same online monitoring for both residential and commercial, as you can see here. Our commercial product being the QT2. And the gateway, we also have the ECU-C with some added functionality, and we're going to go into detail on that. So first, let's cover why microinverters for commercial industrial applications. Well, microinverters definitely make sense if any of the following apply. Traditionally, it's just been ideal for shading, but we're finding that anytime you have dust, dirt, even cloudy days, significant rain, snow coverage on the panels, bird droppings, all of these are great applications where microinverters can produce more energy over the life of the system. When you have roofs with varying angles, if you need rapid shutdown compliance built in, the rapid shutdown systems can often add significant amount of cost to the system. You want it built into the system and not have to add a separate rapid shutdown devices to it. When the system has, you may need to grow the system in the future. If the customer wants module level monitoring, all of these are situations with which microinverters thrive. There's also some myths about. So 10 years ago, when you would compare microinverters to string inverters, there was no comparison. String inverters were literally half the cost, sometimes even less. But today, microinverters are far more competitive in terms of cost. The pricing has definitely come down over the last 10 years. And with the additional energy that you produce over the life of the system, it's a better LCOE. So that can mean major dividends for customers on the commercial side that are looking to put in microinverters for their system. So another myth is microinverters are too difficult. You're installing one for every panel. Well, we do, for the commercial side, we do one for every 4. So it's a faster installation. It's also not a single phase microinverter. It's a 3-phase microinverter. So you don't have to balance the legs yourself. So being able to do commercial 3-phase plug and play, a lot more rapid. We're seeing residential installers with no experience in commercial becoming commercial installers overnight. Another myth is it's not powerful enough. Well, our microinverters compare with PV modules up to 600 watts. And we have the plus at the end there because a more powerful PV module isn't going to adversely affect our microinverters. So let's cover a microinverter versus a string inverter. So typically a string inverter has a lower upfront cost, but unfortunately produces less energy over the life of the system. You also have, with a string inverter, the requirement to add a rapid shutdown system if it's a rooftop installation. The rapid shutdown systems, from what we're seeing, can add 50 to as much as 70% of the inverter cost to the system. And I'm sure that some of you that are on the call today can attest to being shocked at the pricing for adding a rapid shutdown system to a string inverter. We thought you were saving costs until you went to add compliance to it. So there's also fewer potential points of failure with APsystems. So in a 100 PV module system, with traditional microinverters, it's 100 inverters, 100 potential points of failure. And we're just talking about the power conversion part. With string plus optimizer, you have 100 optimizers plus 1 to possibly 4 inverter parts. So you have significantly more. With APsystems microinverters, it's 25 microinverters. So you have 75% fewer potential points of failure. It also means 75% fewer units that you need to purchase, stock, and transport, and install. So all of that savings is magnified over time. String inverters also represent a single point of power conversion failure. You have your string go down, you have the 100 PV modules, 100% of your system not producing energy. If you have one micro go down, it's 4 PV modules or 4% of your system. High voltage DC is also, from what we've heard, a safety concern when we've talked to schools and hospitals. They don't like having high voltage DC on their roof. So that's typically a good way to allay that concern with microinverters. You also have a 1-person installation versus 2 people to set up a string inverter, depending on your string inverter size, possibly more. So let's start introducing the products. So the DS3, the D stands for dual input. S is for our single phase or split phase. The 3 stands for the 3rd generation of this product. Many of you are familiar with our YC600. That was the previous generation of this model. Comes in 3 flavors. The first 2 being the most popular, just because the DS3 without any initial at the end is extremely powerful. The first one being the DS3S at 640 watts. It's ideal for PV modules up to about 400 watts. The DS3L comes in at 768, so it's good for PV modules 400 to 480. And all of the PV module sizing really depends on your preferred AC to DC ratio. Here for these numbers, we used about 1.25. So depending on your preferred oversizing there, it may adjust. And then the DS3 at 880 watts for more higher powered modules. We're not typically seeing that when used in residential, like the S and the L. The DS3 at 880 is more commonly used for commercial. But with the QT2, this one is used less frequently. It's because the QT2 is native three-phase. So the DS3 being the single phase 240 connects to two PV modules. It has an embedded Zigbee wireless, which creates a mesh network so the microinverters can communicate with each other. So the Zigbee isn't having to stretch that or try to reach the furthest microinverter. It only has to reach the microinverter that's closest to it. We'll talk a little bit more about the Zigbee function here in a little bit. UL 1741 SA, so that's California Rule 21, and it's also inherently compliant with rapid shutdown. QT2 introduction. The Q stands for quad, or 4 inputs. The T is 3-phase. The 2 is the second generation of this product. Previous generation of this, many of you have heard of, is the YC1000. So we've really expanded on the architecture for this unit to increase reliability. QT2-208 version, 480. They both can handle PV modules well over 550 watts. Native 3-phase, 3 lines coming out of the power cable, L1, L2, L3. Connects to 4 PV modules, phase balanced, so you don't have to worry about trying to balance each phase monitored. Also UL 1741 SA, so California Rule 21 for that market. Rapid shutdown compliant. And we also wanted to plug our own rapid shutdown equipment. We're not going to be covering this on this webinar today, but I wanted you to be aware that we do carry rapid shutdown, the receivers, transmitters, and all the equipment that you need to become rapid shutdown compliant. Benefits of the QT2. So you get all the benefits of module level power electronics for commercial 3-phase. So that includes the rapid shutdown compliance and no additional rapid shutdown system. You have that lower cost of energy over the life of the system and additional safety. Accommodates those high capacity PV modules from 400 watts up to 600. It pairs well with 60, 72, and 96 cell and split cell or half cut cell and bifacial PV modules as well. The DC input up to 20 amps, it's the highest among microinverters in the industry. Has an encrypted 2.4 gigahertz Zigbee wireless, as we mentioned, creates that mesh network. What's important about that is it's faster communication, not just the enhanced security, but the faster communication to be able to take all of that critical data that's being created by the microinverter power conversion and push that back to the cloud. So a lot of data points today compared with 10, 15 years ago. So the faster the speed, the better the microinverter and the ECU perform. It also has a range of about 250 feet, which is pretty tremendous. And then we also have consumption monitoring for 3-phase installations using our ECUC. So let's talk about how does this compare with the YC1000? Well, we have a 20% reduction in internal components, so that increases the reliability of the product. As you can see from the background of this slide, we have a different texture. It's a cooling topology that we use on both the DS3 and the QT2 that allows for greater heat dissipation. Better heat dissipation means we can convert at higher capacity. So that's what's enabling that higher conversion rate. Phase monitored and balanced, like the YC1000. Y and delta configurations, although the delta high leg is done using the DS3. We have an external ground, no neutral. And like our YC1000, it's consumption monitoring capable and uses the same EMA monitoring system. So let's introduce our gateways. We have the ECU-R. This is our state-of-the-art communication system. The information gateway takes all the microinverter data, collects it, sends it up to the cloud so that both installers and site owners can see their system performance online or on their smartphone. The communication to the microinverters, once again, is Zigbee, but the communication back to the site owner's router it can be either Wi-Fi or what we highly recommend, Ethernet, because it's more reliable. And it's also cellular capable. ECU-C, all the same benefits of the ECU-R with some additional capability because it's designed for commercial applications. We have the consumption monitoring with the use of CTs. It also has a zero export function for those markets that have the requirement where no energy can be exported to the grid. It's got redundant energy control and also Modbus communication. So our basic communication architecture here, the power conversion happens from the PV modules, obviously creates DC energy, our product converts it to AC. But then the communication of what's being produced, what's being converted, system status, all of that gets communicated wirelessly via Zigbee to the ECU, and then that backhaul, the Ethernet, Wi-Fi, or cellular back to the site owner's router, and then connecting to our EMA in the cloud. So let's talk about our EMA. So this is our interface where you can see all of that module level production. You can also see a lot of performance, do the diagnostics. You can set up alarms so that if anything were to happen at the system that you get notified. We also have some additional capability for installers to see the fleet view of all their installations. It's really a truck roll prevention tool so that before you head out to the job site, if there were any issues, you can diagnose it online. Many of them can be resolved online. At the very least, you know what you're looking at before you roll a truck to go to a job site. Is it a disconnected cable? Is it a bad panel? Is it poor communication? So tools like this help make you much more aware of where on the site that you're going, what you need to troubleshoot, and what you possibly need to fix or replace. The EMA Manager app. So this is available both on the iOS and the Google Play Store. So we use this it's essentially everything that the EMA offers, but on your smartphone through an app. So you can also see your fleet view there. You can also see the module level monitoring of each of your systems that roll up into your account. So every site that you've done an installation will be accessible here. Another benefit of this is it's used for commissioning the ECU at the site. We'll go into a lot more detail on this tomorrow. But using this EMA Manager, you don't have to necessarily have a login to commission that ECU at a site. So if you have a crew that's out there, they don't necessarily need to know and remember your system password to be able to get in. So there is the link right down here that lets you just go right in and communicate with the ECU and get that commissioning started. All right, now I'm going to hand it off to Crystal, who's going to cover accessories and design.
Thank you.
You bet.
All right, so let's get into some of the accessories. As you see from the left, we have the bus cable. We have 2 and 4 meter. And then you have your caps. You have one for if you have a chimney or AC unit that's up on the roof, or any kind of things that you need to skip along so that you can bypass anything that's in the way. Go ahead and connect this Y connector cap. And then at the end of your trunk cable, you'll have your end cap so that you can do measurements there, ensure that your AC is good, that it's weatherproof, and it's not going to create any issues for the trunk cable. We do recommend to get the unlock tool rather than using screwdrivers. It's really easy. You just press in and it unlocks the inverters from the bus cable. And then we have multiple options for DC extension cables. It says 1 and 2, but we'll have 3 and 4 available shortly here. You can go ahead to the next. So we have the AC connector, female and male. So you can use a junction box if that's your preference. However, these go right over the trunk cable so that they are weatherproof. It's your choice if you want to use the connectors or a junction box. And here are your male and female DC caps.
I should interject here too. I don't think the part numbers on the AC connectors are accurate for this slide, but yeah, always just make sure that you're talking with your distributor or sales rep on the correct part number for the product that you're using.
Yeah, it makes it super easy for you to weatherproof your system. Right, just putting the accessories in a very clear demonstration here so that you can see it. You have your end cap to the left so that you can do your measurements. Do recommend that end cap because it makes it very easy if there's not any AC to the very end. You can test that instead of unscrewing a bunch of little tiny red caps. It makes it super easy. You could do an AC extension. You have your typical bus cable, and then at the grid there, it's your junction box or your AC connector. In this presentation, you have your inverters. If you have one channel here that is capped off, you don't have enough room on the roof, or you're only using 3 of the inputs, you can go ahead and use your male and female DC connectors. And in case if you have that chimney, AC, or just gap in the solar system, solar array in general, you can go ahead and block that off to make it weatherproof. Super, super easy to install. Audible changes, audible snaps when you go ahead and connect it so you know that it's weatherproof. Just ensure that you don't handle the inverter by the cable. We intentionally engineer these so that you can grab it by the handle rather than the lead. And so here we're doing the example. Our previous products had 2 of the mounting points, but to reduce the soft costs, we have 1 single mounting point. And there's going to be a weeb and a lug for your grounding if you're in an area that needs to have the external grounding system. Right, so here's the image there for the lug in case if you need that. Or most of our customers use the weeb, the grounding washer that's included. Right. And as most of our customers know, you just snap it together and it will have an audible click so that you have an idea that it is good to go, is connected, and weatherproof. It seals up anything that is there. You have your bus cable cap in case if you need it.
One thing I quickly want to add to what Crystal's saying is this unlock tool, it's kind of invaluable. We have some customers in the past have just used a flat blade screwdriver, but if you do that too many times with some of these, it could break off to one side, which means it's not completely sealing. So this unlock tool is really to prevent that from happening. So I recommend you always have some of those on hand.
Right. And they're fairly inexpensive. So it's worth having them in the truck. So that's handy for the technician or the install crew. Right. A little bit more about the end cap. Super easy to install. You just seal it over the trunk cable, bring your wires through, and that way when you need to test or do anything of the sort later on, it's easy to just unscrew it and have the wires accessible for you to test. Great. So QT2 is compatible with the 480, Y, and Delta. You can see some of the layouts here, electrical layout. And same for the Y on the 208. However, it is not used for the Delta high leg at this point. That may be of the future, but in that use, you want to use our DS3 series. Okay, so we have an extension layout. This is based on the modules that you would typically install. They're the smaller, they're the typical average size, and we'll get into the larger modules in the next one. So it gives you an idea of what the extension layout would be in different series here. I do want to point out, you just don't want to cross over too much of this so that it's not confusing for your technicians if they need to go out or your field service team so that they're able to take a look at it. Also for crimping, right? You don't want to lay it out in different ways where there's a chance of you tightening too much on the extensions. You want to be able to minimize the cost and the amount of extensions that you want to use in a certain layout here. We'll also post this to our library so that you can access it for any of your needs in the future. So we can go into the larger module layout.
And one thing I do want to add too is one question we get quite often is with a significant number of DC extension cables that are used, particularly in the landscape single row. One of those cases where the modules or the microinverter cost comes in at such a tremendous price point, thanks to the 4-in-1 capability. So especially if you are able to on larger projects, you're able to get higher volume pricing. You're able to, even in some cases with APsystems, get direct pricing, especially if, or go back there, especially if you're able to do to container load. And then that's also even reduced in cost if you're able to create your own DC extension cables, which many I know commercial installers do. All of those can reduce the impact of having to extend these leads to additional PV modules. And what we've used here also are the split cell, which are popular. But if they're not split cell, there are many of these which you don't need, which is even better.
Yeah. One suggestion when you're doing the installations, flip the view. So let's look at the one on the far right for accessibility. Flip the view for a bigger array so that it's consistently on the edge, right? You're wanting to be able to access that fairly easily instead of it having it closer to the center of the array. You can have that QT2 at the top of the array and then at the bottom. One thing that I do want to point out here, I put an image at the top right corner. You just want to ensure that you aren't crossing too many of the leads for the fact that you can see that some of these inputs are not matching. Here and there, you'll see that someone accidentally used one input and added it in here. It's also not the negative and the positive. So you just want to ensure that all is well, you're using the same two inputs for the same module. All right. And when you're installing the ECU R or C, doesn't really matter which one, If you're just looking for communication, you just don't want to put it any further than 75 meters or 250 feet. If there's any kind of obstacles, metal roofs, or anything like that, reach out to our team. We'll help you through placement, especially as you grow your system. Maybe not entirely on the roof. You also have it in the parking lot or down the sides of the building. We can help you figure out the placement for ECU units so that you're getting the best out of it immediately. You can even send us the plans so that we can show you a good placement for this specific project. So sometimes you'll need an extension cable. It's just a third-party extension. You just need SMA 2.4 gigahertz male and female, so that you can place it maybe above a metal roof, or if it can't be installed on the rooftop, something like that, you can always just bring an external antenna above that roof line. So generally, you want to stay within 75 inverters per ECU, especially if they're spread out. You want to minimize that and just add a couple extra ECUs.
That's one of the convenient things about the setup is, yeah, just being able to do multiple ECUs for a project. So you can easily grow that, scale it up.
Yep, and they go right into the same account so that it's really easy. It's a drop-down menu so that you can take a look at the different arrays. Great. So ECU setup will definitely help you with ECU placement if you're new with us or a bigger project. Download the EMA Manager from the App Store, Google Play Store. It allows you to do parameters, time, scan your microinverters. As soon as you're pulling it from the truck, you can peel off the barcode and map it out. We add the map to our library so that it makes it very easy. Also to the manuals, or you can just label them and then hand it to another person that does the coordination of registrations. And immediately, as soon as you get DC voltage, you're able to communicate with those inverters.
And we'll be covering this list of setup steps in detail in our training tomorrow. But we just wanted to give you just a brief highlight of what those next steps look like.
Mm-hmm. Right. You set up in your account so that they can have access. You can have access. And then you could finalize the array leader. You just set up something minimal there so that you can take a look at communication, connections, and so on.
Thanks, Crystal. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
So just real quickly, I'm going to cover some of the key benefits of using these microinverters. It's typically a faster installation over conventional microinverters. You have a single crew member installation potential if you choose to use that. Common components is important. With the DS3 and the QT2, they use many of the same accessories. So most of what Crystal covered on the connectors, the caps, the unlock tool, etc. It's all common components between both microinverter architectures and the same ECU. So that overall will reduce your stocking costs, reduce what you have to have in the truck. With the 3 single-phase microinverter models covering panel sizes 300 watts up to 550, and then your 2 3-phase models with 208 and 480 covering panels up to 600 watts, depending on your AC to DC ratio. There's no need to stock multiple string inverters of various sizes, and that's an added benefit there. So the flexible sizing, the system can easily grow by just adding more microinverters. We also have a simple system design. Microinverters are very easy to adapt to unique module placement and scale up. Zigbee versus power line communication. Power line communication is limited in speed and in scope. PLC is not able to move through arc fault breakers, which is now a requirement in every living space. So being able to find a place in a home or in a commercial location where there are no arc fault breakers, or that signal can cleanly travel all the way from the roof down to the gateway. It's tricky. So that's why we went completely wireless with the Zigbee, with faster data communication and no signal blockage. It also enables the field upgradability, so we can remotely upgrade the firmware, and we have, thanks to the high-speed Zigbee, we have a larger pipe to be able to send that data. Built-in rapid shutdown compliance is another benefit. We have a local support team, which is tremendous. They cover 8 a.m. Eastern to 8 p.m. Eastern. We don't send any of your calls overseas. We also have a strong financial foundation. We've been profitable every year for the past 10 years. So really quick, I wanted to cover some additional APsystems resources. We have a support page on our website that not only kind of gives you the 1, 2, 3 steps on how to get set up with us and have a successful installation, but it also has a form right there on our support page where you can directly contact our team, and this goes into a shared mailbox. So the first available tech would get that email. And we also have an 800 number. We're going to share that here at the end. So either way, you'll be able to contact our support team, ask questions and get access to additional resources if you need. We have a training page on our website that also has lots of resources like these webinar training videos and additional training videos that we've produced to help make you successful. We have a registration page. We encourage you to go there after this webinar to register yourselves as an APsystems installer if you're not already registered, so our team can create your installer account in the EMA. So you'll receive the login credentials for that. We have a product documentation library where you have access to all of our data sheets and manuals, certifications, and everything that you would need to be able to have the playbook for putting in these microinverters in a variety of scenarios. We also have a YouTube channel, youtube.com/APsystemsSolar. A lot of great videos and resources there, not just by APsystems, but by some of our partners and customers as well. And I just wanted to let you know this training does continue tomorrow, so you can go to usa.apsystems.com. You click on resources, you can go down to our training webinars. They're all listed there. Click on the one that's talked about ECU and EMA, especially covering the ECU-C and some of the benefits of that product. I highly encourage you to come to that so you know how to do those next steps at the site owner's location. So here's our technical support. We have our phone number there for North America. We also have our emails. So if any of you are from Canada, there's a Canada support email. And that concludes our training on the microinverter. We'd like to cover your questions now, so make sure you use that Q&A box or that chat box, and we will review those. All right, first one, let's see. Please cover wire management for modules in portrait and in landscape. I think maybe that question might have come in right before we did the DC extensions. We have that document posted to our online library on our website that covers all of the different scenarios, both for the standard size and the oversized PV modules in portrait, and landscape. So if you have any additional questions after reviewing that, just make sure that you reach out to our technical support team, again, using either the phone number or the email or that form that's on the support page of our website. And they'll let you know what resources that we have to help you with any of your wire management issues. We could cover all the scenarios, especially in that cabling guide on our website. Another question, what is the warranty period for the QT2 and the ECU unit? Our ECU unit is typically warranted for 3 years. The QT2 is a 25-year, sorry, it's a 10-year standard with an optional 15-year extension. So if you want to warranty it for 25 years, you can pick up that warranty extension. And it's not a significant cost. If I recall, it's something like $25 per inverter to extend it for an additional 15 years. So over the life of the system, it's not a huge increase. So highly recommend that you pick up the 15-year extension. And that's available through your distributor, or if you purchase direct, it's available from us.